But the only tools they found were made not of metal, but stone. There was only one conclusion. This was a civilization at an extraordinarily early stage.
Little by little, as we analyzed our findings, we began to realize that this place was completely different to anything we had seen before. And it was much older than we'd expected.
But how old? They'd still found nothing they could date, and so they decided to dig inside Caral's biggest structures, the pyramids. This was a massive undertaking. The site was enormous and the pyramids huge. Ruth needed help, so she recruited the army. In their way lay thousands of tons of sand, rubble and stones, built up over millennia. It would have to be shifted, and so as to avoid any damage to the original structures, it could only be done one bucket at a time. Gradually, they caught glimpses of what lay beneath. Some of the original stones, traces of plaster, paint not seen for thousands of years, a series of staircases, and the wall at the front of the pyramid. There was no doubt these pyramids would have required craftsmen, architects, a huge workforce, and leaders. All the trappings of civilization. And then, at last, one of her team found what they were looking for. Sticking out of the foundations of one of the buildings were reeds. These reeds had been woven into what are called shikra bags, and the bags clearly had been used to carry the stones from the mountains. It's a technique found only in the very oldest buildings in Peru. Reeds can be carbon dated. It meant that at last Ruth could find out just how old Caral was. But she lacked the facilities to do it herself, and so she sought help from abroad. And so, last year, Jonathan Haas and Winifred Kramer were invited to the site. What they saw stunned them.
It was the most incredible assemblage of archaeological sites that we had ever seen anywhere in the world. It was literally one of those double take moments when your mouth drops open and you go, my God, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
They had no doubt Caral was a site of potentially huge importance. It made their dating of the shikra bags all the more crucial. They took 12 samples to the University of Illinois for testing. If the bags were from about 1400 BC, Caral would certainly be an important discovery, but younger than Casma. Dates around 2000 BC would make it the oldest city in the Americas. Dates any earlier seemed inconceivable. 3 months later, the results arrived.
I was at work and Jonathan called me and he said, they are absolutely great. They are all early.
The bags were dated at 2600 BC. Caral was nearly 5,000 years old as the pyramids of Egypt, older than anyone had thought possible.
I was virtually in hysterics for 3 days afterwards.
Caral was 1,000 years older than Casma. It meant Casma could not be the mother city, It had to be Caral. It was now Caral's turn to be a sensation. The new mother city meant archaeologists could at last seek answers to their great question. Why had civilization begun?
We've eliminated some of these false starts and blind alleys. We say, okay, this is the point that wherever we look in the world where civilization develops, this happens, and this allows for everything else.
In the context of archaeology worldwide, it is of major significance. It allows us a new, independent laboratory. We can look here for all of those common questions that we ask of every civilization.
We have here a unique opportunity, historically a unique opportunity, to look at the start, to look at that transition. We have our missing link, if you will.
Ruth could now show the world what a society looked like at the very dawn of civilization. Her work revealed that at the heart of Caral were 6 pyramids, arranged around a massive central plaza. Alongside them, an amphitheater and temple, the religious heart of Caral. It contained a furnace which Ruth believes fired a flame that was meant to burn forever. In the center of the plaza were houses, some ornate, some simple. Dominating everything, the main pyramid, seat of the city's rulers, and the symbol that the people of Caral had left behind the primitive life and discovered civilization. This, then, is what modern society might have looked like at its very beginning. But why was the city here? Why did civilization start at Caral? And that's when the trouble started. It began when Jonathan Hass, the world's expert on the warfare theory, paid another visit. He was searching for evidence to back it up. The first thing he thought he might find were battlements.
I began walking and climbing all of the hillsides around Caral. And it finally dawned on me that there weren't any fortifications around these sites.
Meanwhile, Ruth and her team were searching Caral for weapons, for depictions of warfare, anything. But again, there was nothing.
We found no sign of the sort of weapons you see in later periods of history, like stone cudgels. I don't see any evidence of conflict. The city isn't walled. Its inhabitants did not feel under any threat of war. There are no weapons of war.
Haas was now extremely puzzled, so he widened his search. He headed to the valley's mouth, through which any invaders would have had to pass.
If I was an approaching army, that's where I'd come. And that's where I should find defensive fortifications. There should be a wall going across it. They're easy places to put walls across all of these access routes.
But again, nothing.
There should be something to slow down the enemy, and in fact, there's nothing. There are no